Hello again. So I'm about to start the pear painting with the layering method. So the colors I have here are Cad Red Light, Raw Sienna, Cad Yellow Medium, Lemon Yellow, Sap Green, Ultramarine Blue, and Raw Umber and White. Just in case you want to follow along with this lesson. You'll notice I don't have any black on my palette. As you learn more about color theory, you'll realize that you can paint black without actually having to use black. So here on the canvas I have a charcoal drawing and it's been clear coated with the workable spray fixative. And I've got a few different sizes of filberts, small round, a flat, small bright brush, and couple little detail brushes. Also have a palette knife. And so the way that I'll start this painting is with kind of an underpainting of dull colors. So what I'm going to do is basically start out this painting similar to the way I did the other alla prima method. I'm going to take some white and raw umber. This is the medium that I make, the mixture of the 2-part linseed oil to 1 part odorless mineral spirits. This time I'm going to paint a little bit darker in my corners. That's something I like to do that draws the eye back into the subject of the painting. So really the first few layers of this method are similar to the alla prima method. I'll be creating more glazes in these first layers. When you're an oil painter, you'll need to understand the fat over lean rule, which basically means that the beginning layers of your painting need to be thinner. In other words, if you start painting your entire painting with really thick paint, that dries, and then you go back later with thin paint, which maybe it's thinned with your paint thinner, and paint over the thick layers, then putting thin layers on top of the thick layers can possibly cause cracking in your painting later. So you want to build up your thin layers, and then as you progress through the painting, you'll need to start thickening up your layers. With the exception of a little bit of glazing there in the end, which we'll just use a little bit of linseed oil, or you could use the liquid right there in the end for some final glazes. You just wouldn't want to use straight paint thinner. You wouldn't want to go in at the end and lay paint down that has only been thinned with the thinner. With this method, it's not as important to, keep the paint out of certain areas. I have a little bit of white in my brush now. I'm going into this shadow. But because I'll be letting these bottom layers have some drying time, I won't have that problem of creating mud right here or a lighter value where I'm trying to get the shadow to go in there. I can build up layers of paint and lighten and darken as I proceed. And here, while this paint is wet, I'm going to do a little bit of softening, just kind of with a crisscross motion to get rid of some of these painterly strokes here. I'm a fan of letting some of the brush strokes show in the painting. Otherwise, why paint it? Just take a photograph. You want it to look like a painting. so now I have a little underpainting here. So I'm going to continue with the raw umber. And with these methods, I'm going to start painting dark to light. So within my subject matter, I'm going to start with the darks. And these first layers are going to be rather dull. Okay, it's kind of like a monochromatic painting, different values of one color. The layers are fairly thin. Overall, this whole pair is pretty dark. And again, feel free to kind of use a combination of both. If you want to sit down and get most of the painting done within a couple of hours, and then go back the next day and put some really fine detail in it, that works as well. So right now I've got kind of different values of one color going into the painting. I'm painting a little bit looser than I did yesterday. So we'll gradually work towards the lights. I'll save those lightest lights for those very final layers of paint. Got a little bit too light right here. Alright, so I've got a nice underpainting going here. I'm going to go ahead and soften some of these brush strokes. Now, at the end of this method, this painting will be full of color and interesting layering and texturing and very painterly, yet also extremely detailed. Alright. So there we go. I could continue on this, but I'm going to give this a little bit of drying time. And I'll be back here in just a little while. I'll let you know how long I let this dry, and then I'll be back to continue.